Edgar Wright has established a career directing comedy. He worked on numerous TV shows in that genre before making waves with his Cornetto trilogy of films, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and At World's End, starring the iconic duo Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. He's a master at intertwining comedy in everything he does, whether that be comic books in Scott Pilgrim or heists in Baby Driver. But it seems that his particular brand of filmmaking has found its most perfect match yet, a murder mystery thriller in Last Night in Soho. Before we start, please consider subscribing to help support this channel so we can keep making videos like this. Last Night in Soho follows budding fashion designer and troubled medium Eloise as she travels from Cornwall to London to attend the University of the Arts. Unable to connect with her fellow dorm mates, she rents a neon-lit apartment on Gooch Place. There she connects with one of the previous occupants of the room, a mysterious woman called Sandy, and vicariously experiences her life in the 60s. To put it plainly, Last Night in Soho is brilliant. Although Scott Pilgrim and Baby Driver are both great films, they lacked that British humour and execution of comedy that made the Cornetto trilogy so enjoyable. This Britishness, which may not appeal or make sense to everyone, is interwoven throughout Last Night in Soho, whether that be through subtle references such as John's South to North London commute, or through the playful camera work that captures London. This film is a love letter to London, both the modern day and 60s versions of it. There's a great balance between the grungy and glamorous parts, and it's fun to explore the city with Ellie. Certainly audience members who have lived in London, or at least near it, will connect differently to this film with that added layer of familiarity. The production design and costumes were an absolute treat. The fashion in particular was very important as it's one of the things that connect Ellie to Sandy. The designer drew inspiration for the 60s looks from superstars of that era, such as Brigitte Bardot, Julie Christie, and Twiggy. For the modern looks, she apparently took over 500 photos of students attending her old arts college, Central St. Martin's, in order to get a realistic portrayal of current trends. This attention to detail is obvious in the film and makes the characters living in both time periods feel authentic. In terms of music, Wright knows how to use it cleverly. This is most evident in his film Baby Driver, where Baby, the protagonist, uses music as guidance for everything he does. There's the absolutely brilliant opening sequence of that film that utilizes the song Bell Bottoms. Every shot, every action, every cut in that scene is motivated by the structure of the song. That's one of the things I love about Edgar Wright's films. He has fun using the filmmaking tools at his disposal. Music in Last Night in Soho is also very important. Similar to Baby Driver, the title of the film is taken from a song of the same name from 1968. Ellie uses music from the 60s as an escape and as inspiration for her fashion design, and it quickly becomes one of the things that differentiates her from her classmates in London. It is also used as one of the things to help transition between eras, as Ellie plays music to fall asleep, and it's at this time when she's most able to connect with Sandy. Last Night in Soho certainly has a very stylized side to it, with VFX sequences that portray Ellie's mind for the audience. These added quite an avant-garde layer to the film, but never felt tiresome or like Wright was trying too hard to be artsy without a purpose, which I feel is often a problem that filmmakers fall into when trying to visually portray abstract things like memory or time. But Wright always has a purpose. The way Sandy's life is portrayed plays almost like a piece of theatre, but the theatricality never belittled the seriousness of the story, instead providing contrast between Sandy's hopeful beginnings and the dark reality of living her dreams. Wright utilizes practical lights, music, and mirrors to transport us seamlessly between time periods. Each transition was different, which kept the pace fresh, and despite the innately repetitive structure of the plot, I was never bored. One scene that stood out was when Ellie tries to break a mirror so Sandy can hear her. The desperation with which she hit the mirror was very moving, and I can't help but think of it as a great metaphor for how it feels to live with mental health problems. This is an underlying theme of the story. It affected Ellie's mother and in turn affects her. Those suffering from mental health problems can often feel trapped, and there are moments where family and friends are trying to break through those mirrors in order to let their loved one know that they are not alone. This is something that John does throughout the film as he repeatedly checks up on Ellie. This isn't the only heavy topic that Wright deals with. There's the subjugation, exploitation, and discrimination of women. Audience members can see the life that Sandy had in the 60s and be grateful for all the progress that has been made, but Wright makes sure to show us that these things still exist nowadays and there is still much work to be done. Many times, nuggets of these issues are thrown into a story but not addressed in a meaningful way. For example, in the trial of the Chicago 7, a fictional attempted rape was added to the story that one of the main characters stops. It just felt like it was a box ticked and was ultimately inconsequential to the story. That is not the case with Last Night in Soho, where the female experience, which is so integral to the main characters, is treated with respect, and it doesn't detract from the success of the comedy or the mystery either. Wright manages to bring together so many important themes in his genre hybrid without doing any of them a disservice. One thing I found curious is that Last Night in Soho had the opposite yet equivalent effect on me as Dune did, which I reviewed last week. On the surface, Dune is totally different. It has the pace of a floating cloud, staying quite consistent throughout, whilst Last Night in Soho's pace is more like a thunderstorm, changing rapidly depending on which part of the thrilling action we're in. What makes these films similar is the way they shaped time impeccably in order to tell their particular stories. Both left me feeling satisfied at the cohesion of their tone and delivery of their themes, and both are more than likely to make my top 10 films of 2021 list at the end of the year. Overall, Last Night in Soho is perhaps Wright's most meaningful contribution to cinema yet. Every stylized layer of detail, from the playful camera work to the meaningful dialogue, from the production design to the choice of music, helps create a world and a story that are both incredibly enjoyable to experience and important to understand. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to see more videos, and comment with your thoughts on the topic. Which is your favorite Edgar Wright film so far? For more film content, feel free to follow us on Twitter, Letterboxd and Facebook, links in the description. Otherwise, this has been Tea Break Film Reviews. My name's Michelle, and I hope you have a great day.